You better watch out you're not at the receiving end of this Primates punch. Here's a look at the Playmates toys, Godzilla x Kong, the New Empire, Mega Punching Kong. Godzilla and Kong return in an all-new adventure, pitting the almighty Kong and the fearsome Godzilla against a colossal undiscovered threat hidden within our world, challenging their very existence and our own. Don't forget, you can't spell Kong without K-O. Just before, of course, we get a closer look at the Godzilla x Kong, the New Empire, Mega Punching Kong, I'd like to thank the folks over at Playmates that did provide this sample. Kong's going to stand tall at 12 inches in height, or the king of the primates stands about 31.5 centimeters tall. We seem to have been looking at a lot of big monsters lately here on this channel. Going to slide over the Kong that we're about to have a look at, and of course we're going to be bringing in Godzilla that we've already had a look at. Both of them do have lights and sounds. You could say, if anything, Godzilla is the victor here because he does also have a misting heat ray. From a size standpoint, if I actually could get them both on their standing legs, I would say they're roughly about the same size, although Godzilla obviously has a little bit more extra length with the tail on the back of his body. Like it was the case with the King of Monsters, King Kong does also have lights and sounds, but in the case of both monsters, the batteries already come courtesy of Playmates, so you don't have to worry about buying them right away. Godzilla did require 3 AAA batteries. King Kong, though, does require slightly smaller, more expensive batteries, 3 LR44s. They have already, like I said, been installed on the back of the ape's body. I'm going to flip the body around so you guys can see where they're supposed to go. The moment you'll notice that Kong starts to drain and starts sounding a little deeper, you'll know that you'll have to unscrew the battery cover here and then replace the 3 LR44s. Just above that, though, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, there is one of the little button activation points that trigger the sound effects for Kong. In fact, he actually gets triggered by 3 different effect options. You can either squeeze his legs together, you can just simply twist his body around, or you can also, again, press that button on the back of his body. Before doing that, though, I did want to show you guys the features of the face and all the details down below. First of all, I think the head sculpt is really good. One of the unfortunate sacrifices that have to be made in order for this to light up is that his eyes light up, so if they're not already being activated, they do look a little on the darker side. Now again, for this being a primate, you can kind of buy into the idea that his eyes would normally be dark like this. They've taken the time to color, of course, the tops and bottoms of his teeth. They colored nicely as well the inside of his tongue. There is some decent articulation as well. I was actually thinking this guy would be a little bit more limited, but I was surprised to see that not only could you rotate his head, but you'd be able to rotate some other things also as well. He's got some scarring there on the front of his chest. In between the scarring, you may be able to see as well, he's got a few little slits. That's so that the audio actually sounds more clear from the front, and it's not relying it solely on the back. In fact, if you look at the back, there are no speakers at all on the back of Kong's body. They're all solely relying on this area here. Of course, he does have the power glove there on the side. One of the fun things I thought was the fact King Kong did kind of even up the odds by being able to wield this weapon. I'm sure down the road we are going to be getting King Kong. I'm sure, I'm calling it right now, King Kong in a later movie will actually have a voice box, and he'll be able to say a few things. I'm saying that right now. But it does bring a little bit of extra necessary color. Of course, if not for that, King Kong would normally have just been like, pretty much like just relegated to like browns and grays and stuff like that. What's interesting, though, is that the glove itself is pretty soft and plastic. Up here it's hard enough, but they probably did this as well as a more safety precaution. So if some kid accidentally gets sucker punched by Kong, at least the front end of it is a little bit more softer and it's not going to hurt as much. They've colored also as well the band, some additional silver there also as well for the gears that kind of keep everything together for Kong. Of course, when we spin it around to the back, one of the unfortunate trade-offs of this guy being essentially like 2 halves put together, so you can see some very visible screw holes all down the sides of his arm, up right down the middle of his body there as well, and also down below in his legs. But going back to the fact that this figure does have some decent levels of posability, his head does rotate back and forth. You can bring his arms sort of forward and back. A lot of that really has to do with the gimmick. You can also rotate his body, but again, a lot of that is the gimmick. But here's the part that kind of surprised me, is that he has, first of all, elbow joints, so you can bend the elbows freely. You can also rotate his hands as well. This hand you can't because it's all kind of really built into the rest of his glove. But you can also bring his legs forward. You can bring them back. You can also twist the leg a little bit and bring the leg out that way as well. And the figure does also have knee articulation. Sadly, he doesn't have anything, though, for his feet, and you probably can see as well, he's pretty hollow on the bottoms of his feet. But again, for the fact that this guy does have the sounds and the effects that he has, I don't think I'm not bothered really at all by the fact the figure does have slightly more hollow feet. Now again, to cycle through the sound effects can be accomplished in one of 3 ways. You can either just go right away to the button, and the button will only really activate the face. So if we go and press the button on the back, Now we're bringing life to Kong. It's only going to give you the audio, and it's only going to light up his eyes. Nothing else is being done right now to the rest of his body. What you can then do is if you then twist his torso, he's going to start to swing this arm forward as if he's doing a sucker punch or an uppercut. You can also do it as well by squeezing his legs together. Now, I find with it squeezing his legs, it doesn't always work as well. If I'm squeezing this, I feel like I'm putting a lot of pressure to this. If a kid, for example, is picking up Kong, he might actually find it's easier not to necessarily squeeze the legs together, as I'm doing right now, but rather actually just taking the shoulder on this side and swinging it this way. The results are the same no matter which way you go. It's going to have Kong swinging his arm forward. Again, he's going to get the audio clip going, and his eyes are going to light up. I do like that. I like that at least it gives you the option. If they had only just relegated and with the legs being squeezed together, I think honestly, for me as an adult, it's so much easier for me. Obviously, like I can squeeze the legs together, but I can see like that might be a little bit harder for a kid to do. So the honest thing, if you're, a little bit smaller in size and you maybe don't have as much the strength to squeeze legs together for King Kong, honestly, it's just so much easier. You can just squeeze it by just essentially kind of pushing the shoulder this way, and it yields again the exact same results. Comparing the two again, I'm just going to put Godzilla, King Kong over here. I knew I was going to probably get the two twisted up here. Putting King Kong right here, I want to just make sure I got him standing completely straight. And bringing back in Godzilla. Now again, like Godzilla, we've already looked at him in the earlier review, so if you guys didn't get the chance to see them, I actually just was taking the head off in between takes. But if you guys did, if you guys haven't seen the review though of that version of Godzilla, definitely check it out. I like that they're oversized. I love the idea again that Playmates finds the way to incorporate the lights and the sounds. Granted, yes, Godzilla did have a little bit more going for him because again, he had the mist coming out the front of his mouth. King Kong doesn't have that, but what he does have though instead is an action feature being able to swing his torso about, and of course, delivering like the knockout blow. Between the two, I'd love to have both of these obviously on display. They're going to be taking up a little bit more quarters than your regular sized Godzilla and King Kong figures. Well worth it though if you get the chance to grab these for yourself, because they're pretty fun toys if you're a fan of Godzilla and Kong. Okay. If you're going to have a versus movie, there has to be a clear-cut winner. Unless you're the studio that decides they want to do a fan service to both fandoms, and that in the end, everybody wins. No, if there was to be a clear-cut winner, I would probably say it would still be Heat Rave Godzilla. Not just saying for the fact that Godzilla did have a breath spray that came out of his mouth, but for the fact that also his platelet blades all sort of charged up to the front of his face. I thought that was a really neat touch. I mean, no slouch necessarily is Mega Punching Kong. If anything, you could say that the primate has a little bit more posability. There's a lot more you could do with him, and if anything, you could say he's a little bit more fun to play with. I mean, one of the downsides, unfortunately, with Kong is that on the back of his body, as you can clearly all see right now, he's got a lot of visible screws. But from the front of him, though, he's got some really cool details. I think it was smart, though, that they cleverly found a way to add little slots for the speakers around the areas of his slashes, so you don't really see them as much. The detail in his face is good, and he actually has surprisingly a lot more posability than I thought he would actually possess. He's a little soft in the one fist, just to ensure, I guess, safety precautions, that no kid is going to get knocked out because of Kong. Yeah, Kong's pretty cool, but I would still say my victor in this is Mega Heat Ray Godzilla. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments section. Between the two behemoths that we've had a look at, who would you say comes out on top? Big thank you once again to the folks over at Playmates, that because of them, we all come out on top because they've released some pretty cool looking toys. Today we were, of course, looking at the Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, Mega Punching Kong. If you guys did enjoy this video, do it a solid, throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Hit that subscribe, turn on that bell, and of course come back. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.